Let's start here. People-pleasing is not leadership. As a manager and leader, you probably want your team to like you. I get it. We want to work with people that we like and who like us. And there's a very real tendency to think you're doing a good job of leading if you're liked. But wanting to be liked tends to result in people-pleasing and being nice. And if you really want to be effective as a manager and leader, it's more important for your team to respect and trust you than for them to like you. Let's be very clear. Being a doormat doesn't get results. Instead, it tends to create a lack of trust plus resentment and frustration. Your team won't be learning and growing, and you will be unhappy, mistrustful of your team, unable to achieve the kinds of success you want and are capable of, and probably headed for burnout. Am I being harsh? Maybe. So I'll pause here to introduce myself and then get back to what you need to do instead of people-pleasing. I'm Grace Judson, and I'm a leadership geek working to keep first-line managers out of the people-pleasing trap, but instead growing, learning, and becoming the leaders they want to be, their teams deserve, and maybe that they wish they'd had. There are plenty of resources on my website to support you in doing all of that, and I've included links down below in the video description. Okay, so what do you do to avoid the people-pleasing trap, but instead build trust and respect on your team? I'll give you 3 key points. First, remember that each person on your team is an individual, and they each have different development needs, career path desires, and communication preferences. Learn what those are. For instance, I had one client who struggled to communicate well with her immediate boss because they had a fundamental difference in their communication styles. She was a high-level, get-right-to-the-point person, but he wanted more structure to their meetings and needed more detail than she typically offered when presenting an idea or a problem. Once she understood this about him and adapted to fit his style, she stopped feeling like he was not listening to her. That's an example of employee-to-manager communication, but it illustrates the point. When you know what someone expects or wants, what their styles are in various aspects of communication and how they want to work and what they want to be working on, you'll be much more effective in day-to-day tasks, and you'll immediately start building that essential foundation for trust. Second point, and I wish I didn't have to say this, but no favorites, not even the perception of favoritism. This one can be hard because if you have one team member who's a star, it's natural to want to give them the interesting assignments and continue nurturing their growth. And yes, we do need to acknowledge excellence, so yes, it's a fine line to walk. But don't fall into the trap of always going to that person when something needs to be done. For one thing, you don't want to overwhelm them by overloading them, as one manager I know did to one of their star performers. And there are ways of continuing to develop the star while also developing the others on your team who might have just as much capacity for excellence if they receive a little more attention and mentoring. Going back to my first point, when you understand where each person is on their professional growth as well as what they want for their career path, you'll know what each of them needs in order to move them forward. Third, don't tolerate poor performance and make sure you know why someone might be performing below expectations. I'll break this one down into 2 parts. First part, don't tolerate poor performance. When team members see one of their peers getting away with dropped balls and sliding by with subpar work, it destroys morale, initiative, and trust. This is where the people-pleasing impulse can really come back to bite you because you've got to be firm and clear about what you expect and what will happen if those expectations aren't met. And that's hard to do if you're committed to people-pleasing. And second part, you need to understand what's going on. Why aren't they performing? Do they know what your expectations actually are without question? Is the culture one where they feel okay about asking questions if they don't know or need clarification? Do they have the resources they need to do the job well? Do they need training, or are they struggling to prioritize all the things on their to-do list? Most people sincerely want to do a good job, so when someone isn't doing a good job, it's always worth taking the time to dig into what's going on. And here's a bonus 4th point for building trust and respect with your team. Be quick to catch people, as the saying goes, doing something right. Give feedback in the moment, not weeks or months later in a performance review. Give positive feedback in public and very specifically, not just, hey, thanks, great job. Links below on more on that. but a specific acknowledgement of why it was a great job. And give corrective feedback just as specifically, but always in private, not in front of anyone else. I've included links below to some of my articles on how to give feedback well, whether it's positive or corrective. Look, management and leadership aren't easy. You have to be decisive, but also welcome input and ideas. You need to be professionally empathetic, but also firm and appropriately directive. I've often said that leadership is like a big fuzzy gray ball of uncertainty because every person you lead is unique and every situation is different. Leadership can also be deeply rewarding and meaningful when you see how the people on your team are growing, learning, and contributing, and recognizing yourself how you're growing, learning, and contributing. So, got a question? Had an aha moment? Like the video, leave me a comment. I always come back to reply, and don't forget to subscribe and click that notifications bell so you'll know when I release a new video. And meanwhile, please don't be a doormat, and please do go forth and be the leader you're meant to be. Take care.